Been a busy week for Central Texas firefighters in Llano and Blanco counties. Burnet and Travis, fires have scorched hundreds of acres of land.
The Austin Fire Department responds to a lot of fires outside the city limits and all over the state as well. We told you last month about a group that went to West Texas to help contain a wildfire there. And it turns out that that kind of travel makes AFD better at protecting us here in Central Texas. Chris Davis joining us now with that story. Good morning, Chris.
Yeah, good morning, John and Kate. This fire here is a good example of what we're talking about here. We're at Pace Bend Park out at Lake Travis, and this is where you can see the ground here. A fire burned a few acres a couple of days ago. Now, Pedernales Fire Department was the main lead out here in trying to contain this thing, get it under control. But when AFD got out here, they knew who they were dealing with right away and how they could help.
And before, it was like every time we show up, it was like the first time we meet. You know, where now we're able to hit the ground running.
Now that's Josh Porche, a battalion chief who runs AFD's Wildfire Division. That division didn't really exist before 2011. The bad Labor Day wildfires that year convinced Austin to dedicate resources to wildfire protection. Now AFD has a group of 70 to 75 volunteers who travel the state to help contain wildfires elsewhere. They meet firefighters from across the country and learn the best ways to tackle different fires in different conditions. Then they come back and teach the rest of the department what they've learned so that when it comes time to defend a neighborhood here at home, they are ready. Porche says it's basically the difference between book smarts and street smarts.
Our firefighters now, because they're versed and they have those relationships, they recognize and they can say, hey, look, that resource which maybe we've never even used inside the city limits, I've used it somewhere else, and I know that it would work right here.
Now, a good example of some of the changes that they've made is that the brush trucks that AFD uses, their wildfire people use, they carry a lot of really cheap kind of almost garden hoses with them now. So if you imagine that this is a neighborhood, say, maybe there's a house back there, what they'll do, and when they're trying to protect a home, is roll out a bunch of that really cheap hose so that they can protect that house. And then they can just disconnect and move on to the next house and do the same thing. So it doesn't really matter if they lose some of that cheap hose, and it saves them a lot of time, so they're not rolling up that expensive hose that they use on, say, a normal house fire. And when you're dealing with wildfires, saving that much time really can save homes, and in some cases it can save lives. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, it's interesting, Chris. Not something you would think about, I don't think. Well, close to 50 communities in our area are certified by the National Fire Protection Association as fire-wise communities. You can see most of them are in West Austin. The program teaches homeowners how to manage wildfire threats.